If you are considering traditional publishing for your book, then you need to know the difference between traditional publishing and self-publishing. This video will highlight the behind-the-scenes reality of traditional publishing from an author's perspective. There are a lot of gatekeepers you will need to pass through in the process of traditional publishing. Most of them are kind, but even the kindest person in the world can be toxic in your life if you believe deep inside that you are beholden to them. No one in the traditional publishing world is doing you a favor. You're not beholden to them. Books are a business. You need the publisher, and the publisher needs you. Did you hear me? They need you. Without your ideas and words, there is no book to publish. Traditional publishing is a team effort. So here is a brief primer of what to expect when you join your traditional publishing team. Here's what to expect in the beginning. Your literary agent will pitch your book proposal to an acquisitions editor. If the acquisitions editor selects your manuscript to move forward, they will act as an advocate for you. The next stop is the editorial board, or ed board, of the publishing house. This group of people will determine whether your topic is relevant and whether the writing itself is the caliber of their other authors. If they select your book proposal to move forward, the next stop is the publication board, or pub board. This group of people evaluate the business side of publishing your book. They look at your previous accomplishments, the size of your audience on social media, your experience with presenting and interviewing, and they determine the general saleability of your book. It doesn't matter how beautiful your writing is if they can't sell it. When you make it through the acquisitions editor, ed board, and pub board, and the publisher has decided to make you an offer, your literary agent will contact you to let you know that negotiations have begun on a book contract. This is why you need an agent, by the way. They take care of everything at this stage, thankfully. Your agent will explain every detail of the contract before you sign it. When you enter into the contract, you agree to an advance in exchange for the printing rights to your book. An advance is an amount of money that the publisher pays you before the book is created. I kind of think of it as a loan you don't have to pay back. If the publisher pays you an advance of, say, $30,000, you will never owe that money back to them unless you do not deliver the manuscript as you promised. And even though you won't owe that money back to the publisher, you will not make another dime until you sell through the advance. That means every book sale counts against the advance until you reach $30,000.01. After that first cent over the advance, you will receive royalties from all future book sales. Be aware that it is harder to sell through an advance than you think, and most authors never do. It's important to note that the advance is not distributed in one lump sum. That's something I didn't know until I was a traditionally published author myself. But the advance is broken down into smaller chunks that are attached to certain milestones in the publishing process. You may get $4,500 for signing the contract, then $5,500 for turning in the manuscript, then $3,000 for turning in your marketing plan, and so on. And then you get your final installment on the day of the book's release. This is important to know because it can be 16 to 24 months between the signed contract and the book's release. An advance of $30,000 sounds incredible when you fantasize about it arriving in one lump sum, but it loses a little bit of its shine when you realize that it'll arrive in bits and pieces over a 2-year period. So think of it as working a job for which you're paid $15,000 a year. That's a little below the poverty line. Not many people explain this before you enter the traditional published world, but I think it's important to tell you how you will be compensated. There are a few other enlightening details you should know about how you will be compensated in a traditional publishing agreement. As I stated, your book sales will count against the advance, and when you sell through, you'll finally begin earning royalties. But as you do the calculations to determine how fast you could sell through, please do not think in terms of the retail price of the book. If you did that with a book priced at $15.99, you might think that you only have to sell 1,878 books in order to sell through. But that is not the case. Other entities take the lion's share of the sale. The bookstore or the online retailer gets their cut. Then the publisher gets their cut, which includes the expense of producing the actual book, paying editors, designers, and sales team members, and printing the book, the paper, the glue, the ink, the shipping, the warehousing, and most authors retain only 16% of every sale. That check, as well as all the checks that comprise the author advance, goes to your literary agent first, not to you. The literary agent then takes a 15% cut, and you will finally receive your check from your agent, which is about 85% of 16% of the $15.99 price of your book. Also, every payment arrives 90 days after you meet the milestone written into the contract. In other words, it will take a lot more books to sell through your advance than you think. The entire retail price does not count against the advance. Only your 16% does. So at about $2.50 a book, that means you will finally sell through your $30,000 advance after 12,000 book sales. I know that's a lot of math, so let's just get to the bottom line. It's going to be a lot of work before you see your next penny. And it's worth noting that your contract will have different percentages for different types of books. For an audiobook, an ebook, a hardcover, paperback, mass market paperback, the kind with the unattractive rough paper, books in other languages, etc. All of these details are why your agent deserves their cut. Your literary agent is there to help you through the weeds. Here's what to expect in the middle. The main reason most new authors want to go the traditional publishing route is because they want the publisher to handle all of the production, distribution, and marketing. So 2 of those expectations are reasonable to have of your traditional publisher. 1 is not. Your traditional publishing team is a powerhouse when it comes to production and distribution. They will have a first-class team of editors, developmental editors, copy editors, and proofreaders on the project to make your book as flawless as possible. You'll have some interaction with these team members, but there will be long periods of silence as well. You won't hear from anyone for weeks, and then an edited manuscript will suddenly be sent to you for review, and you must read the entire thing, and then you'll be allowed minimal pushback in areas where you question the edits. Your traditional publisher will also have an interior designer typesetting your words to make them readable and beautiful on the page. When the text is typeset, you'll receive galley proofs, usually digitally. Galley proofs will show you what your book will look like in print. You'll be invited to read through the galley proofs one more time before the book goes to print. Seeing the galleys for the first time is my favorite moment. Your manuscript will really look like a book for the first time. There's nothing so important as a stunning interior. The cover designer will create a fantastic cover that will meet market standards and compete with other titles in your genre. Sometimes you'll have some input in the cover design, but other times you won't. For Hunting Hope, I was invited to come to the publishing office and view a selection of 5 possible covers. We all discussed which one was right for the book. But in the case of Everyday Genesis, I wasn't given a choice. Only one cover was sent to me, but I loved it instantly, so it wasn't a problem. The cover design is often one of the first things decided, even before the manuscript is turned in, because it will be used in promotional materials and posted for pre-orders online. Here's what to expect at the end. After your book is created, a traditional publisher can print them at a remarkable discount because they're printing so many books at one time. They have an advantage in this regard. A sales team will do their best to distribute your book in as many places as possible. Be forewarned that just having a traditionally published book does not mean that you're going to be seen in every store or airport. The sales team will be selling your book to those outlets, and sometimes they will agree to carry the book, but sometimes they won't. The connections that a sales team can make is one of the biggest reasons to choose traditional publishing. But marketing is not a good reason at all. Your traditional publisher will do very little to market your book. Their promotional budgets are reserved for celebrity authors who have an enormous readership, chomping at the bit to buy their next title. Everyone else has to do most of their own marketing. Oh, there will be a few things that a traditional publisher might do for you in the first 90 days of a book's release, like help you land a few interviews on a few radio shows, but even so, the majority of the marketing is up to you. In fact, it was a real shock to me to find out that one of the compensation milestones in a book contract is your marketing plan. You will need to turn in a detailed plan to market and sell your book. This task is tied to one of the payments in your advance. You may want to outsource the creation of this marketing plan and work with someone who will help you outline the promotions that you need to make sales. I did this for both of my traditionally published books. And then, on that wonderful Tuesday when your book releases, by the way, books are always released on Tuesdays, you will feel ready to conquer the world. Launch day is truly a glorious day, but the work has only just begun. And what if your books don't sell as well as you hope? Well, there are a few things I think you should know. You've sold your printing rights, not your copyright. That's still yours, but your printing rights are not. So if you want to boost your book sales by creating ancillary works like a group Bible study that goes with the book, or note cards, or a calendar with quotations, you'll have to discuss it with your literary agent. Depending on your contract, some of these ideas are no longer available to you. And there is another thing. Printing the actual book is not available to you either, even if your publisher decides to stop printing it, like they did with me. Everyday Genesis did not sell as well as they hoped, even though it was one of my favorite books I've ever written. The poor sales were entirely due to the fact that I did not really market the book myself. It is very much my fault. But 3 years after it was released, the publisher decided to stop printing it and still had copies in the warehouse that they were going to destroy or sell to markdown outlets. So they called to ask if I wanted to buy my own books before they liquidated them. I said yes, yes, yes. I couldn't stand the thought of something I had created meeting an untimely end. So I made personal sacrifices and took money out of my retirement account to buy my books back. And now they're stored in a small warehouse near where I live. We still sell them in my online shop and ship them from the warehouse. But I can't print any new copies because I don't own my own printing rights. One day, I'm going to buy those printing rights back from the publisher and begin printing those books again. You see, I love my own creation so much that I'm willing to do anything to redeem it from destruction and empower it to fulfill its purpose. As a Christian, that storyline sounds familiar, doesn't it? If this video was helpful to you, please show some love and generosity and subscribe, like, comment, and share it with others. And if you're a new Christian author or desire to be, you will enjoy my step-by-step plan for writing, publishing, and marketing your amazing book. It's called Page 1 to Page Done.